Hello, I'm out here walking in the bush as I like to do, and finding a spot with enough light to make a video. So we're not light seems to go down fairly. Sun goes down fairly early out here as winter's approaching. So how is everyone? How are you navigating the for most of us lockdown and all the changes taking place? My name's Katherine, if you haven't watched any of my videos before, and I like to speak about the Akasha, assist people to awaken their gifts, tap into their abilities, and live their purpose, contribute to the world through their gifts. I'm also very focused at the moment on assisting through my gifts to bring through messages that I'm receiving and assist people to navigate the transitions on the planet. I have been receiving very specific guidance and personal guidance, and sharing some of what I'm receiving to share with the people in my community. Because certainly our gifts can assist us to, they're meant to assist us. They're like an extra level of help through this time. So I really encourage you to be developing your gifts and seeking guidance and seeking your truth through this time. It's really important. Often where there's so much information out there, there's so much contradictory information, there is a lot of lies and deception, there's a lot of glamoring. I'm seeing that there's a lot of in the spiritual community, there's a lot of glamoring of people that look really, of the light and presenting themselves as leaders and high vibration, but there's glamoring and deception there. So something to watch for. How will you know that? By developing discernment, developing your capacity to just discern truths. So that's what I wanted to speak about. Relates to what I wanted to speak about today, which is making time during this time to really go within, to coming into the heart space and really listening to what's important for you at the moment. Finding it's a good time to give some thought to your values. What's important to you? What are your highest values, and how are you honoring those or not honoring those at the moment? So what are values? They're the values that are the things that are important to us. Like for me, freedom's one of my highest values. Other values I have might be, taking care of my health and well-being, contributing to the world, contributing to the world, assisting others. These are all values. So it's a good time to re-examine our values during times of change and find out what's really important. I'm finding new values emerging, changing in my values of a value of simplicity and resourcefulness. They're coming to the front, those values. So the more that you take that time to really come into your own truth and what's important to you, it will help you to find your way through what's going on in the planet. Whereas if we're, I think there's both. I listen to people too. I find people that resonate with, their message resonates with me to listen to, but I always discern with what they're saying. Does that resonate? I don't just take it wholesale. So I encourage you, whatever I'm saying, whatever other people are saying, to really just listen. Just take a moment and just say, does that resonate with me? And sometimes if something doesn't resonate, there's lots of reasons for that. It might be So that's part of the tuning in process too. Why doesn't that resonate? Does that resonate because that's incongruent with my beliefs? Because I feel uncomfortable listening to that information because that's different than what I know? Or does that not resonate because it's not really true for me? In my heart, in my soul, it just doesn't feel true. Lots of reasons why things may not resonate. So I feel, many of us have more time at the moment. So it is a good time to take that time to go within and look at what's important and your values, and also to be with what's coming up for you at the moment. This is something that came up for me this week that I wanted to talk about, that a lot of emotions are coming up, and you might be finding that too. I've been finding a lot of anger coming up, and grief. So, this journey is very different for different people. People see it differently. There's some people, people just see it differently. We won't necessarily go into that in this video, but I just see people are seeing and experience what's happening very differently. Yeah, that's life. We all experience things differently from our unique perspective. So, but I felt that for me it's important to take some time to be with the emotions that are coming up for me. It's been fairly full on. I have moved again and was feeling fairly stressed. And stress can increase when we're not taking that time to really. Stress can be just like things sitting there, right? That can create stress and intensity because things are just sitting there needing to be processed, needing to be reflected on, but you haven't taken the time for that. So taking the time can reduce those stress levels. For me, as I sat with what was going on, I found that the anger, the anger was like a fairly loud note, so I knew what that was about, that I was angry, and I still feel that level of anger about a lot of things that are happening right now. My response to that, there's an anger, and people may see anger as a positive or a negative. People see anger in different ways. For me, anger tells me that something needs to change, that something's not sitting well with me. It's an energy of change, and so when I listen to that, when I take action on that, the anger tends to diminish, to just perhaps be there as a energy, a fire to support the changes in the action. But if I don't listen, it can just be like erupting anger all the time. So something to think about. And if you've got a lot of anger coming up, spending time with that, seeing what that's about and how that's wanting to express can really help with that. I also wanted to talk about grief. I found grief coming up, and it makes sense that there's been a lot of loss through this time. Again, people are perceiving that differently, so people may not be experiencing that grief yet, or they might not experience it at all. But for me, there's a huge sense of loss of the world as I know it, loss of that I had plans and visions for my life and my business, and I'm needing to let some of those go. And they were pretty big plans and visions, but I don't see those being brought into the world in the same way. That's pretty huge. And yes, we do need to adapt and change in life. That's part of life. But there's a grief process that happens when we are letting go of things, with change, grief. So as I took time to just acknowledge the grief and be with that, it can begin to integrate and process rather than just sitting there. And I found, yeah, there's quite a bit of grief. And as I sit with that and process that, it's 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 like things are settling into a new pattern. They're integrating, and I feel more able to be in the present and move forward. But it is a lot of unprocessed grief and anger, a lot of emotions going on beneath the surface, as was for me. It can be hard to be present in the moment and to be making clear plans moving forward, because there's so much emotion and intensity there. So, I encourage you, if that resonates with you, to spend some time just being with what's going on for you, and perhaps doing some journaling or reflection or painting, drawing, even dance or movement, doing something with that, giving that some, allowing that to just move through you rather than just be stuck. Doing whatever helps you to process. Even for me, walking. Actually, walking is one of the ways that I process emotions, because it's moving through my body. Even talking, as in the video, just talking about that. So quiet out here. There's just little noises. It's really right out in the bush. So yeah, that's things that I wanted to share with you. And as I say, has been fairly full on. As a sensitive person, I'm feeling things deeply. I'm feeling deeply what's happening on the planet. Perhaps many of you are too. I felt very sad today. I feel very sad today as I watch, with the awareness of all the things that are happening, and how talk about my sadness, without sort of going down a whole rabbit hole with it. I feel sad at the more that I uncover the depth and layers of the problems that we're dealing with at the moment, and realize the impacts of what's happening right now in terms of how that's affecting our economy now and how it will affect it. How one of the things that really concerns me is how this is affecting our food supply, and there may be likely to be some severe food shortages in the next 6 months or so, because a lot of food is food supply chains have been broken. Food's being wasted, thrown out. So at some point, the food that's in stock's going to run out, and there's going to be that gap in the supply food chain, depending how long that's interrupted for. I'm really concerned about that. There's a lot of things I'm concerned about. I'm concerned that, from the knowledge and information I have, that people aren't taking this seriously and being proactive and preparing, making sure that they will have food, growing food, and having that stock of food and growing food, having means to, if perhaps learning some more traditional skills for obtaining food from the natural environment. So, foraging, things like that. So I think this is going to be key in the times ahead. I'm sort of reticent in a way to share a lot of what I'm being given, and yet there's a sense of responsibility. Why is there reticence? Because I find people don't want to hear it. A lot of people are still holding that things are just going to go back to normal, or that the problems are going to just be fixed and everything's going to be wonderful. That's not the guidance I'm receiving. I think that there will be a new world, and many of us may have the opportunity to be part of that and to be part of creating that, but there's work to do first. And part of that work is to navigate what's to come by being practical and grounded and real, making sure we have the resources to do that, helping each other, joining with others. This isn't something we can do by ourselves, rather we can join with others and collaborate and share our knowledge, our skills, our resources. That's how we're going to get through this, guys. So, through my lives and messages, I will be sharing more of the information that I'm getting. That's up to you, of course, if that resonates or not. I can only share what I'm getting. I do feel a little bit like Cassandra at times, that no one's listening, and but that's all we can do as intuitives with messages that we get, is to share them, and that's up to people if that resonates, if they listen or not. I can't do that part. So finding it a bit challenging to share some of what I'm receiving, particularly because I feel people don't want to hear it, but there's always been that part for intuitives. So I'll continue to share, I'll continue to offer up what I receive in terms of guidance to assist and help people, and that's always my motive, to assist and help you through these times, and to give people information, not to create sort of fear and upset, but to help you to meet what is and what's to come with knowledge and with practical, with preparation and practical, and with action, being proactive. So on that note, I'll finish up, and lights going down, and take care, and talk to you soon.